So do we have this? Punching, I think.
Yeah. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Come on, I got something on the screen I gotta get rid of first. Okay, can everybody hear? Shake your head, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Wonderful.
Can you hear Becky? Becky, say something.
Hello?
Yep.
Can people hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
All right, let's see. Rita, me, Becky, Cheryl, Susie.
Oh, did you get the email that Melody and Mary Jo are going to make it?
All right, so that leaves us at a quorum, yes.
5?
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4. 3 absent. 3, 4, 7, 8. No Kristen.
She is on an important call and said she'll be back. She left about 40 minutes ago.
And I did just hear a door.
I'll go up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so
Yeah, we need 5 for a quorum, right, Becky?
Yeah.
Oh, we're waiting.
A little bit
There's
tough.
my puppy. His
Still
name
a
is
good
Honey
dog?
Bear.
Oh, what kind of dog is it?
It's a
Cheryl.
Morkie, a Maltese Yorkshire Terrier cross.
Oh, boy. How old?
He's coming in on 4 months. He'll be 4 months in another week.
Uh-huh.
So he's a teenager,
Yeah. Yeah.
typical
wild.
teenager, into everything.
You are absolutely welcome to bring him to town hall to get a dog license. Just say.
Well, that doesn't, he hasn't gotten his rabies shot yet.
Oh.
And I don't have to have him licensed until he's 6 months, but I will try to get there before that.
I just like petting the puppies.
He's very pettable.
Very cute.
Who's that?
That's why I got him.
Yeah.
Well, no, I got him because I missed having a warm, furry body in my bed. My old dog died before Christmas, so
Oh,
I was going to wait until spring, and then I just said, no, I'm not waiting.
I think it's going to be an early spring this year. Knock on wood.
It does seem to be.
Oh my goodness.
Are you not experiencing an echo this time when I'm not muted?
Correct. What happens when Becky unmutes? Will that make it?
Oh, everything is a mess when I unmute.
Yeah, she unmutes the.
Hello?
Yeah.
Now we got the echo.
So I have to mute so that Becky doesn't echo. Is that correct?
We're just waiting for Kristen to come downstairs so we have a quorum.
Mike is here.
Melissa? Melissa?
Oh, go ahead. You could have just spoken, Cheryl. It's fine.
Oh, okay. I didn't know whether you heard me. I only got 2 of the things that you sent out for people's comments on finishing up.
2.
2.
There were 2 versions.
There were 2 versions. There was the one that I sent late last night and then one earlier this morning.
And the earlier one was multiple submissions.
I think, I don't know which, I only got one from you and I don't know which one it was.
I didn't put anyone's name on any of the comments. Yeah, the one this morning had multiple, and the one last night had multiple, so I ended up getting a second one over the course of this morning or evening, and I added that one to it.
So Kristen is here. We have,
There she is. Oh, there she popped in. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for the late joining here. We got a serious call we had to go to that we took care of real quick.
Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you for doing that. And thank you for everybody for being here. I'm going to put the agenda up. So let's review the agenda. We have the public comment section. We're going to do the, oh, thank you, Becky, for doing that. We're going to do the committee next steps. And that's okay. I'll fill it in. Committee next steps, review the minutes. Well, I think that's what you meant with report, because that's what's on the one on online. So that's the SBC report. Schedule our next meeting and adjourn. Does anybody on the committee have anything else they'd like to add? So I'm going to open it up for public comment.
Come on.
I'd like to share.
Looks like nothing.
I do have an announcement. One of our members has sent in a letter of resignation. Mike Vinsky has decided to resign from our group. So we are left with 7 of the 8, right? Yes. Yes. So moving on, let's talk about the committee next steps. Thank you, everybody, for submitting your next steps. Hopefully, did everybody get a chance to read through them before we start to talk about what we'd like them to be? Yes, no? Okay. All right, so having read through them, does anyone a specific, I'd like to list out what they are, like 1, 2, 3, if we could, real quick, and take the top ones out of what everybody sent comments. Would anybody like to share what they think their feeling is, what 1, 2, 3 should be for our next steps?
I'm not clear what process you're outlining here.
We all gave our thoughts about them. We've all read each other's thoughts, and I just want to come up with a list of what the committee feels our next steps are, what we can have consensus on, and for a few minutes anyway. My observation from them, I think that the group feels as though we are ending our work and ready to start the report and make a recommendation to the select board. There's a few questions lingering that we could answer. And I appreciate those that sent those comments to us too. To offer a recommendation to the select board. There's a, oh, did I hear somebody? Susie, did you say something?
I was coughing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Looking down. So the one thing we should do is we can look at the numbers to see if we all feel we have answered or can reasonably answer them and wrap up. The first question, I don't have the chart open in front of me. Give me 1 second. On it.
Melissa, I have the charge. Do you want me to read it?
Much on my screen as it is, so I'm not sure I can see more. So yeah, go ahead. If you want to, we can go through the questions and then make sure we feel like we've answered them, or if we want to put something together. And then, yeah, please go for it.
Okay, so one was, what are the town of Shutesbury's public safety and policing needs? What are the expectations of our residents? To answer this, the committee will research how we define public safety and policing in a small New England town. A listing of issues the community reaches out to the police department for will be compiled. The committee may develop a survey to get community-wide input.
How do we feel like we have information to answer that question in a report to the select board?
I would say yes. And I
Yeah,
think-
definitely a survey.
Yeah. Looks like Cheryl has her hand up.
I'd say Cheryl.
I think we have the information we need to respond to this particular question, even though it's, as I pointed out in what I sent to you, it's really 2 questions. But anyway, between the survey results and what Kristen and I did putting together what the police actually do in town, we can certainly respond knowledgeably to this question.
Number 2.
Anybody else have a comment? Number. Rita, since you have that in front, can you read number 2?
Sure. Are the current functions of the police department working for Shutesbury? The committee will identify the police functions. Do the current functions meet the needs and expectations of the full community?
Another answer in a report for that particular question, I think so. We've got quite a bit. Cheryl, you have your hand up again.
I think this really is another way of asking question 1, and it can be answered using the same tools that we would answer question 1.
I agree.
I hate to put this on you, but do you mind number 3?
Oh, do you want me to read number 3, did you say?
Mhm.
Okay.
And
Our current,
I hate to put it on you, but
oh no, it's not a problem. Our current department structure is police chief, full and part-time officers. Does this current structure work and provide the level of services needed and expected for Shutesbury?
I think that's
Definitely
answered in the survey also.
other comments on that particular question? Becky, why don't you read number 4?
Okay.
Okay, so number 4 is, should we explore alternative structures such as a shared chief or contracting for police services? What are the benefits and detriments of a shared chief? What are the benefits and detriments of contracting police services?
With our exercise of pros and cons, which I think you're highlighting, we hadn't actually put that together. I have it put together. I got to refine it, so I will do that for the committee. Cheryl?
I was just going to say that we spent a fair amount of time on this, but it hasn't been collated, so that needs to be done. Otherwise, I think,
It's been collated, not edited, so I'll do that. Yeah.
yeah, otherwise, I think that's really all we need to do to answer this question. I mean, we can put in our opinion that if we decide that the consensus of the group is that the structure we have now serves the community well, we can put in our opinion, but that's all that it would be.
Susie's hand too.
I also think that over the time, I have more thoughts regarding pros and cons since we've gone on for a while since we did that chart originally. So rather than having a compilation, I would like to just submit my thoughts regarding the pros and cons and not worry about trying to get it to be a consensus or a collation.
I make sure I understand this, Susie. You're thinking of doing it separately or as a piece of that pros and cons?
Well,
piece?
I know that
Like to
you were-
add to that.
right. So you were going to write up the pros and cons that we came up with, and then I would just add some other thoughts that have come to me as the process has gone on.
Compilation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts on number 4, Mike?
Yeah, I was just wondering if the group was going to do any research for this particular item with any of the communities that are actually doing alternative policing structures, such as the fee for service in Leverett and Wendell, and the shared police chief in Hardwick and New Braintree. Just wondering if anybody is going to do any research into communities that are actually using those structures, or if this is just going to be pros and cons based on what people in this group think those structures look like and how they might pertain to Shutesbury.
I'll let the group chime in on that one. Or comment? Oh, I see Cheryl too and Susie. Okay, Rita, go ahead.
So what I had written in my comments was that, you know, the first question is, should we explore alternative structures such as a shared chief or contracting for police services? And while we had done some research, I don't think we reached any conclusion. So I'm not sure that it makes sense at this point that we have enough information or enough time, because we do want to wind this up. So I would be of the mind, particularly since we have 2 select board members here, of kind of taking the approach that Susie suggested and then getting comments from individual members of the police study group if they want to submit them to the select board.
Susie. Susie, go ahead.
Are you waiting for me?
I just want to say that this is what I mean by it's on beyond the pros and cons. We have the Leverett agreement. I've been reading from the town of Leverett, their website. I have thought about those things and I have comments. So that to me entails my research in an effort to get this this committee's work finished.
Cheryl?
I think the consensus is, from certainly what I think and what the rest of the ones that I was able to read said, I think the consensus is that we're done with research. We've gathered all the information we're going to gather. I think we should just go with what we have.
Hi, everybody. I think we have already done an extent of research when we brought forward all of the different towns in the area and what their budgets were, and knowing the Wendell Levitt agreement that got printed out and the New Braintree agreement that got printed out and things of that nature. We have already done research, to understand the budget that they started with and the budget that they're using. Further, I feel that using the Leverett Wendell model, or what New Salem is looking to do, is an unequal comparison of who we are, giving ourselves to another town. Our budgets are nowhere near as close as Wendell was, and I believe it was $40,000. And we know that because we did do the research on that and we did bring it forward. So I think that we had enough information to bring a preliminary investigation of what they were doing forward, to know well enough that the select board is intelligent enough to do further research if they want.
Mike.
Yeah, just two things. So, and I mentioned that I mentioned this first thing a long time ago when I was on this group and it was just forming, that there's some confusion as to what copy of the charge was actually the one that we were using. And Rita is reading, I believe this is item number 4 on the charge that she's reading. And this is actually item number 5 on the charge that I have. And the charge that I have states the last line of this particular section is, the committee will research and report on alternative structures in other similar sized communities. So you've got 2 sets of charges here. One of them includes actually going out and researching on alternative structures in other communities, and the other one that doesn't. So there's a problem right there administratively with what this group is trying to accomplish. The second thing is, when you're talking about cost, the only cost of the Leverett Wendell model was the cost of Wendell, and the $40,000 has been quoted as far as that's concerned. I've had some conversations with Chief Scott Minkler about what it might cost Shutesbury to be part of the Leverett Wendell model. And it's significantly less than what Shutesbury is spending right now for police services. So, to be an objective review of the things that that are included in the charge, I really think there needs to be some more research done, and it should include actually talking to those other towns and getting a more a better feel for what those models would mean for Shutesbury.
Oh, go ahead, Becky.
Mike, the charge that you have was not the officially voted charge. We went back and made sure that what was voted is what is up on the website.
That is correct. I just looked at the website. What I'm reading from is what is up on our website.
And it's the one we also included in our survey letter, cover letter. Susie and Kristen.
I want to say that if Mike resigned from the committee, then he's acting in the public as a public comment person. And I do not want to be directed by his concerns at this point. He can have opinions, but what he's suggesting is that we think of this in terms that he is still concerned about. I want to go back to my main concern, which is trying to resolve these kind of disputes continues to take way too much time. And we need to get to an endpoint. Not everybody's going to be satisfied with our version of what it takes to know this, but I want to get to the end. And so I don't want to spend time arguing.
Okay, so we were talking about number 4 still, at least that's what my note said. How does the committee members feel about, could we answer, should we explore alternative structures based on the information that we've pulled together so far, or have pulled together? I'm not gonna say question or make a recommendation. So number 4 and 5 are similar. So number 5, Rita, could you read number? Cheryl,
Sure.
hold on, Cheryl. A second, Rita. Cheryl, put her hand.
Yeah, I just think, I agree with Susie. I think we're done gathering information, and I think the information that we have gathered is pretty clear. I don't think, I really don't think that we've heard from a very large proportion, like actually a very small proportion of people, that they think a different structure is what is needed for this town. So that's my opinion.
Melissa, do you want me to go ahead with number 5?
Yeah, you can. Yep.
Okay. If an alternative structures are recommended, what are they? What are legal, administrative, and other actions needed for implementation? What is the financial impact of any proposed alternative structures?
How do people feel about this one?
Yeah, could you just read that one more time? I think it was me, but it got cut out a little bit.
Sure. If an alternative structures are recommended, what are they? What are the legal, administrative, or other actions needed for implementation? What is the financial impact of any proposed alternative structures? I think Cheryl has her hand up.
Becky, we can't hear you. I think you guys froze.
Oh, no, they're moving. Becky, you're on mute, though. They're figuring it out.
What I wanted to say was, at this point, we don't, I don't believe we have recommended alternative structure. I think it has become clear through this process that when you study about the future of the town, Cheryl, what's going on?
The sound is coming in and out.
So have Cheryl speak first.
Go ahead, Cheryl, go ahead. Becky's good. We're gonna figure out this owl thing quickly while you're talking. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. It went out of my head. I think this is tied into what I said about question 4, that pretty much all of the information that we've gathered says that people want the structure that we currently have. So I think the answer to this is no, we're not recommending any other structures.
Becky, okay, thank you, Cheryl. Becky, you had a comment.
Okay, I'm gonna can people hear me?
Yep. Yes.
So I agree with Cheryl, there has not been a recommendation, but I think part of it is because we are in this process of the police study group. I think it is prior to starting the group, there was conversation with New Salem about a potential for sharing police chiefs. That there was no more conversation once the study group began. I think it really is dependent on the status of towns to conversation of this sort. And I think for us to share a Shutesbury chief with New Salem, this process has indicated that we are in flux and don't know if we will have our own chief in place to share. So while that's going on, I think it's not been really possible to pursue a real change in structure of any sort. And I think completing the work of the committee will allow us to move forward in how the select board to use in their authority to have those types of discussions with other towns. I don't think it was appropriate for Mike to be discussing with the police chief in Leverett, representing himself as part of this group when this group had not yet, asked members to reach out to other communities. And so it was done without the select board being aware of it. And I think it's really critical that any discussions about change in structure go through the select board or come to the select board. Those are my comments.
So I think that we'll have to vote this evening after we talk about some more of these. So Becky, why don't you read numbers? Does anybody have any more comments on number 5? Before we move on? No. Number 6, Becky. I'll have Becky read it. Street, I give you a break. Thank you. I appreciate it.
What have we learned from previous working with other towns use shared police chief model?
I see Cheryl waving her hand.
It's really difficult because Becky keeps cutting in and out.
Read it again.
Do you want me to read it?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay. What have we learned from previous attempts to explore working with other towns using a shared police chief model?
Am I cutting in and out before we go? Am I cutting in and out at all?
Yes.
Hang on. Sorry, don't want to make anyone sick. Don't look at the camera.
While they're doing that, I'm just going to answer and keep moving this on because technology is forever our bane. So we do have some historical documents about previous considerations of working with other towns on using a shared chief model. We have that in our history that's posted on the website.
Susie, can you hear us better now at all? Or are we still cutting?
No,
Better?
that's good.
Sounds good.
Okay, and we do have quite a bit of information that was put together, so I think we can definitely answer this question in a report. Does anybody, other committee members have any further comments? Number 7, and then we might open up to public comment. We'll ask the committee members if they would like that. I can read number 7. If no alternative structures make sense for a community, are there different approaches to public safety and policing that make sense for the full community? Could any current police services be safely delivered by someone other than police officers? What services? What additional costs are associated with the non-police delivery of police services? On this question. answer this question. I think we have a little bit of information that we've put together. Kristen gave us quite a bit of information when she gave us her presentations. So I think we could pull some of that from those presentations. I'm not sure we can answer all questions in number 7. Cheryl.
I think that early on, Kristen gave us a pretty exhaustive discussion about what she does and probably the rest of the police department does in terms of offering services that would not traditionally be considered policing. And so I think we can answer this question if someone were to sit down with Kristen and pull that out of her and you know, put it down in a format that could be used as an answer. But and that's about what services are currently being offered by the police department. I think in terms of we really haven't looked into what it would cost to try to offer those services other ways. I'm not sure a town of this size that it makes any sense to try to do that. It wouldn't be a full-time job. We'd have to contract with somebody not from around here, probably. Well, not necessarily. There might be somebody in Shutesbury who could do it, but I'm not sure that it makes sense for a town this size to be thinking about offering those services separately. Like I said, there was an article in the paper a few weeks ago about Amherst doing that, but Amherst is a much bigger town and it's got like 3 colleges in it. So it makes more sense for a town like Amherst to have services like that as opposed to Shutesbury. That's my thoughts anyway.
Becky, your hand's up.
I think just a few weeks ago, Kristen spoke about some alternate services being provided on a regional basis. That would be something that we might pursue in the future. Is that ringing a bell, Kristen? Speak to that if you know what I'm talking
So I
about.
think we're talking about the mental health services. And, you know, currently when I am a CIT trained officer, which means I'm crisis intervention team trained. You go to a week-long training to have this. Most departments have at least one officer, although some in the area I have found don't have any officers that are crisis trained. And by doing that, we create a collaboration with CSO in order to have them be responsive to any mental health calls in town. Currently, what we have is the ability to have them come to the residence if we have a problem, although that's sometimes difficult because of shortages in staff. But so oftentimes what we do is we take the person physically to the crisis team, to CSO, and drop them off. And this is in place of bringing them to the hospital where they might not need to go. They could get better services from a therapist or something of that nature. Regionally, we are looking into some things that are happening. A lot of departments are coming together to get grant funding in order to have the CSO staff be available to us to either ride along with us, although that wouldn't make much sense in Shutesbury because the amount of time that they would spend versus the calls that they would get. But they are teaming up with larger towns, larger cities, spending the majority of the time in that town, and we would have the ability and the opportunity to have them come to Shutesbury quicker if we needed them. Now, I know that there are some towns that haven't invited us into their grant. Some of our neighboring towns, which was very surprising that they have interest in our town, but they don't want to invite us into that. So I have been seeking outside of that to speak to possibly Orange, the town of Orange, and seeing if we could get into something like that, or we could maybe apply for our own grant solo and see how that goes. But this is something that is very in the preliminary stages. They've just started that. And but that is something in the future that we are looking forward to having happen, particularly because we hold such value in a service like that for the community. Does that answer it, Becky? Good, fine.
And
I put mine down.
oh, you put yours. Go ahead, Susie. Susie, your hand is up. Did you have a comment?
Yep. I also
Okay.
want to point out that in Shutesbury, this very small town, with a very small police department, there's a lot of conversation between the police department and the town administrator, the police department and the select board. I think some of the questions in the charge anticipated problems that we're seeing in a more national scene. I think in this town, if the select board felt there was a need to investigate developing services through an alternative means, they would help analyze it. And so what I'm looking for is to turn this over to the select board. And if they have more questions of things to be researched that they are seeing happening, then I would trust that to happen. Maybe in some places, people don't feel they can trust the government that's supervising the department to do that, but this is Shutesbury, and I believe we can.
I also, Susie, to coattail on that, thought that this last question actually is one that could be just kind of ongoing as the select board or town administrator checks in with the police department or acting chief, so that we, have it's an ongoing conversation, right? Because like Kristen said, grants and stuff are coming up, things, other towns are in early experiments with these sort of services that way. So that seems like it's kind of an ongoing question, ongoing conversation to continue, in many forms. So thank you, Susie. Okay. All right. So I know there are a few community members here that might have comment or questions. Does the committee feel like they want to open it up to community members to have a little input at this point? Or shall we go on with deciding if we want to make votes for questions or recommendations, votes? Members? Yes, no.
I'm okay with doing a limited comment from the public right now, but we also have minutes to approve and resolution of how we're going to do this to deal with.
So why do we take public comment for like 3 minutes? Would anyone like to? I see Mike and Rachel's hand. Mike, do you have a comment on anything related to this last few minutes conversation?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that in reference to the charge of reviewing the past history of a shared chief, the group had tasked me to do a report on that, which I did, and I presented to the group in September. So as far as that charge is concerned, that one's done. So I just wanted to remind you that that had been accomplished. It just seemed that the discussion pretty much was heading towards the fact that there wasn't much accomplished as far as that's concerned. But that one's done, and the group has the report on that.
Thank you. Rachel.
Hi, my name is Rachel Schwabi-Horka. I'm a town resident. And so I would like to support a recommendation that the police study group, support the police study group, making a recommendation to the select board to hire acting police chief Kristen Burgess as our permanent full-time police chief. And I hope that the police study group will consider that, because I'm really concerned. I've been attending almost every single one of these meetings, as well as other meetings in town, that this committee has gone on incredibly long, at least over 6 months that I've been involved with it. And I'm extremely concerned about what is necessary for these officers to continue doing their job and having a positive morale. So that is my feeling as a town resident, and I hope that the police study group will consider that recommendation. Thank you very much.
All right, so the next thing, I think along this line with the,
Melissa, there are
I
a
think-
couple more.
oh, I'm sorry. I see. Physicals.
Linda and
Susan
Susan.
Yeah, go ahead, Susan and Linda. Thank you.
Shall I go first?
Yeah, go
Yes,
ahead.
please.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank all of you who are volunteering your time to make our community safer and more cohesive. And I have missed a couple of the meetings, and I am not aware of any compilation from the surveys. Is there something I can access so I can read how people generally responded to the survey? And I also have a couple of questions. I don't know if they were ever addressed, but my vision of this police study group was that it would look at accountability, both accountability from the police to the citizenship and accountability from us to them. And I'm not sure that was ever addressed because accountability is a two-way process. And another thing I'm not sure that has ever been addressed is how are people reviewed? How are our police reviewed? Who does that review? Who evaluates their performance? And are they qualified to evaluate that performance? And then the last thing that I've questioned is, what if, and I know if Kristen were our police chief, this would never be an issue, but what happens if a citizen has a grievance? Who do they go to? Who is a neutral party to hear that a police person, put their foot on my neck for 9 minutes? Who does that sort of grievance? Those are some of my issues. And again, thank you so much for all of your volunteer work.
I can help in answering your first question, definitely. There's a PowerPoint presentation that I did during our last meeting, and it is up online, I believe, right? Correct, Becky? It's up online. It's up online. So it gives the survey results, it graphs and such, so you're able to access that there if you want to look there. And then as far as the other things about accountability and evaluate the performance, that's not what the select board put in this particular charge for the police study group. So that wasn't where we came to writing our charge and what the charge for the group was. It was looking at the current structure of the department and evaluating that, because we had a moment in time where we were between current chief and an acting chief, resigned, and then we were in between. So those questions you bring up are very important. So as far as evaluating grievances, the town administrator oversees chief and daily, not oversees, but yes, oversees. And then the select board oversees the department. And I see Kristen has her hand up. Did you want to chime in, Kristen? Am I making?
So Susan, in the spirit of keeping the study group on pace tonight, I am available any day next week, and I want to talk to you about all of the accountability and grievance procedure and everything, because it really isn't applicable to tonight's meeting. But would you mind coming in and sitting with me, and you and I can review that together?
Thank you. I'd love
Okay.
to do that.
Give me a
I'll
call or
email.
an email with your availability.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Kristen, Linda.
I just wanted to say that some comments that have been made tonight, I really agree with Cheryl and with Rachel in their comments. It is time to move this to an end process. It's been going on for quite some time now. And I think, to me, that this whole process has proven that Acting Chief Kristen is doing a tremendous job. And I think more people in town now know what the police department do than they've ever known before, including this committee. And I think that her skills have really been demonstrated here for this lengthy process. So definitely time to wrap up and go on to the next step. And I also would endorse to have Acting Chief Kristen be the next Chief of Police in Shutesbury. Thank you.
Go ahead, Tim.
Good evening. I think the survey made it pretty clear what the town wants. I agree with the comments, particularly from Susie about how to wrap things up. I agree with the comments that there's 2 extremely competent select board members on this police group already who have been privy to everything that's been discussed. So making going overboard and trying to make a report isn't really required. I think the select board has everything they need, and I think it's pretty clear that the recommendation from this committee is to continue with the police department we have. And finally, assuming that we will continue with the police department we have, I think it would be a travesty not to hire Kristen as the full-time chief. We have had an unparalleled opportunity to see how she conducts herself, her level of integrity, her perseverance during this police group. You couldn't get a better process for seeing how somebody will do it. We've never, it's ironic, we've never had that opportunity. And in my opinion, her participation in this committee, her performance in the community is just absolutely outstanding. And I think to not proceed with hiring her as full-time chief would be a big mistake on behalf of Shutesbury. I think we have a great opportunity here to kind of set a bar for community policing and be on the cutting edge. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
I just wanted to respond to what Tim said. First of all, I agree with, certainly Tim, I agree with what you said about Kristen and most of what you said there, but I don't agree that we shouldn't be bothered with a report, because the report will go on record and it will be available for people to see. The report is, granted, the report is for the select board, but it's also for the town, and it needs to be on record. So that sometime in the next few years, if somebody wonders why we have the police structure that we have, they can go and read it, just like we went and read what was written about looking into a shared police chief. It needs to be available.
I have a question for the group. This is a suggestion among the comments that people made. Are we, as a group, could we vote whether there's a need to explore an alternative structure in Shutesbury? Are we ready to make a decision of that nature to put into the, you're waving, Cheryl?
You're cutting out again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it better if I sit in front of it? Can you hear me now? Is
I
that
could
better?
hear you then, but I'm not sure
Okay.
I'm not sure that your position is the problem. Because you cut out without moving positions.
Interesting.
So, Miss Melissa, are you thinking we need a motion to either say we want
Asking us-
to?
Yeah, so yes, I'll ask for a motion. Are we, or are we ready to vote on whether there's a need to explore an alternative structure? Or make a motion not to explore an alternative structure? How is people feeling? Do they feel like they can vote? Rita. I have a,
My only comment is it just gets really awkward with two members of the select board here. So while I suggested that, I'm thinking, you know, we just make that we don't have a vote and leave it up to the select board because we don't have the third member here. And it just gets, it's like cutting that person out. So while I said it in the first place, I would retract that now.
the select board make the votes they need to on the, after reading, everybody reads the report.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Susie.
Well, I just thought we could say, does the PSG want to forward an alternative structure recommendation to the select board? Could we just vote no or yes? I'm not sure how that tangles up the select board. It's what the committee wants to do.
Okay. So it's a committee question. Anybody have any input into that? Sure, or abstain, I suppose.
But is that?
But
a
maybe that, I
contradiction?
think what Rita's on to is discussion for the select board after we read this report. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think
The answer was already no.
the answer is already no. Didn't write it down.
Or maybe just the non-select board members can
Oh,
say
that
their
was no.
recommendation or not recommendation. Or it just goes in the report.
This question number 4 was yes. 5
Um,
was no, but they're almost the
Just-
same.
Just a suggestion, people can always abstain if they feel like the vote is not appropriate for them.
Very true.
The question, yeah.
I guess the other way to think about this is going back strictly to the report. And again, I advocate not trying to work out a consensus, but just a compilation. And in some ways, that's what came out in the past history. There were people that wrote up the pros and people that wrote up the cons. There wasn't a consensus that I see. So if we're thinking about this as a bit of history to go in the archives, I feel like it's okay for people just to put in their comments. And I would say that there's no movement in this group, but maybe we just read the report to do an alternative structure.
I can see that. I can see that. That's right. I know, I can see that. I think that yeah, maybe a vote's not, definitely not a vote. Sorry, I'm struggling with that little piece. Go ahead, Rita.
I was just gonna say, we're missing 2 of the members tonight, and if you, Melissa, and I abstain,
just
then
saw-
we have. So, yeah, I'd say
So
no.
why don't why don't we
and
go
Kristen would
forward
probably
and, right, there'd
abstain
be 3 of
either.
us that would want to abstain from that.
And I would be abstaining too, so.
There you go.
Why don't we not do that? And that answers the question. So as far as the report goes to the select board, Susie did have the wonderful idea of what we learned on the select, of what we learned. Susie, what was the question you asked? I'm sorry. Write down what we.
Yeah, what I learned 8 months on the PSG.
I think that's something maybe that we all could write and include. I do think there should be something a little more formal with all of our sources and stuff compiled together and observations that we had from the information as we were, you know, from our minutes, including our minutes and all of those sort of things in the report to the select board, so they can have it full, and it creates it, like Susie said, or Cheryl said, for the ages to do this 100 years from now, read our wonderful work. So that's kind of my thought on that. I'm happy to put together an outline and the sources and stuff for the group. I've got that structured at home and in a binder to see for the next meeting. I can send it, or I can do what I did before and put it on a link so you can go in and look at it if it's too many pages, which it might be. So that's kind of where my thoughts are. I'm easily swayed in any direction. So go ahead, Cheryl and Susie.
I suggest that people volunteer for questions that they would be willing to draft an answer for everybody's review. I volunteer for question number 1.
Okay, and I'm happy to put it in what I was thinking of and toss it out to everybody. I'm hearing an echo. Does that make sense?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Heather, Susie, you had a question.
Yeah, I have 2 parts. One is I don't believe that everybody receiving a draft of each other's works and reacting to it will be a process that goes well for this committee. And so I would just suggest we just put it all in there, and like you're saying, Melissa, sort it out into that organization, and then the select board and posterity looks at it. I also want to make sure that the public comments that came in, people have to realize that it is not in our purview to recommend hiring Kristen or not. You've certainly said what you feel about it, and I'm sure there's a lot of opinions that are shared by members of this committee, but it's not in our charge at all. So it moves on after we get through with this piece.
So I think Cheryl started it by taking a question she'd like to be able to answer and put in. Does others have a specific one number on our charge that they feel really passionate about to write? Rita.
Muted.
What I wanted to say is that, you know, as we were going through these questions, we concurred, I think, that the survey that we did answered a number of these questions. So I'm wondering if we can't, you know, group some of these. So Cheryl, I think number 2 is also addressed by the survey, and number 3. So maybe, you know, maybe it's doing a, addressing those 3 questions through the survey results. So I just volunteered you for 1 through 3.
Cheryl, you can turn your speaker on. I think you have a comment. You can chime in.
Yes, I was agreeing. I was not saying I don't want to do it.
Okay.
And if you write it, we can pop it in, and I'll put the report, the whole thing together so you can see it as 1, 2, you know. And number 4, should we explore alternative structures?
Number 4, yeah.
Oh, number 4. Yeah, I have it up here.
Great.
Number 4, does anyone want to take number 4 and or number 5? I know I did the pros and cons, so I'm willing to answer number 4. in that way with that compilation of information. And Susie, you wanted to send more in. If anybody else had other pros and cons that they felt after this, go ahead and email them to me and I'll add those as I put that together. Okay, good. Okay. So I'll do number 4 since I have all that information. I don't know that we're recommending alternative structure. So number 5 is.
The answer was no.
No, yeah. Maybe we'll add another 1 or 2 sentences to number 5. So I guess I'll put number 5 with the one I took. 6 or 7, we do have a pretty extensive report for number 6 already created. Good, everybody's good on that. And then number 7, Chris, put together a summary of what you just said about all the what's currently going on for mental health and other services that are fledgling in other, what you answered the question from Becky about other services that might.
Okay, you want me to do a summary for that? I'm sorry, it could be my computer, but I'm still having you go in and out.
So do you think you could just put together a little summary of what's going on, like with the what you gave us, a little summary of grants and those sort of things that are kind of up and coming
On the horizon, yes.
And that
Sure.
will be an ongoing question, I think, that our ongoing conversation. Just in
Okay,
town in
and
general.
when is that needed by?
Any other thoughts on reporting? Minutes, survey results will go in there. Anything else we put together, the budgets, like in the appendix, we'll have all of our documents in there. Cheryl?
I have a client who has a very short timeline on something I need to write for them. So I can't start it until I'm done with that. But after that, I can do it in, a couple days. So I would say maybe 2 weeks.
That's a reasonable amount because we're all going to be putting stuff together. I think that's reasonable. Does anybody disagree with that?
I'm going to need
Susie?
as much time as possible because I have a big event I'm working on here.
Okay, yep, I understand.
I think also we know this group is not recommending an alternative. So I believe that the select board can begin to line out what they want to do and how they want to do it. Because we're not going to be bringing something in that's totally different. And so in terms of a process, I feel like it's not our report that says what's the next step. Our report is saying what we have researched or looked at or figured out, but it's not a recommendation for what the select board needs to do.
Saw your hand go up on that. Go ahead.
You're cutting out, Melissa.
I'm so sorry. I wonder if it's the internet building.
Yeah.
You raised your hand.
Me, okay. What I was going to say, I just looked at the calendar. So the select board has the next few meetings. I was looking ahead and thinking that maybe by the April 26th meeting, we have finished everything and we have a report to the select board. I don't know if that's too ambitious, but I think if we have kind of an end date here, that would be a good thing for everybody. So that's a month from this week.
What did you propose?
I was thinking about the April 26th select board meeting to have everything completed and have a report.
That April 26th.
Yeah.
How does I think we can achieve that. How does the group feel? I think that's.
I'm wondering if Rita and Melissa would feel, well, first of all, select board is an extremely busy board, lots of stuff going on, including town meeting coming up. But do you feel that you could, if you wanted to, you could start a process on some of your agendas to begin to sort out the issues around a police chief in Shutesbury?
I would like to have the report. You know, I'd like us to be finished with this process. I think it just
I think it would help the third member of
is
the,
logical. Yeah.
to have that as we have the discussion. I think maybe, Rita, maybe we could.
We could push it
just
out.
State to Eric, you know, about this is where this is going and this is what he can expect us expect to see, but he may want to read through the report, having not attended the meetings.
Right. So is that too ambitious? April 26th, then we go to, I don't know what the next one is in May.
Fine. I think it's fine. I think it.
May
I think
10th.
if you wanted it by the 15th, that might be too ambitious if you wanted it by April 15th, but I think the 26th is doable.
But we would we have a PSG meeting before we turn it over on the 26th? Or we don't need to? Maybe
Yeah,
just-
definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Cheryl, I see your hand up.
7th.
I think that April 26th is reasonable. And I forgot what else I was going to say.
Sorry.
So what's the deadline for the PSG part? That's the deadline to give it to the select board.
Didn't we say 2 weeks from today?
Mhm.
I'm just looking to
Makes
see what that is.
That's the 7th, April 7th.
7th, and then I'm hoping it doesn't do this, but if we had to have another mini meeting or anything. You're saying no.
Oh, no, it's
Please.
just,
You're cutting out again.
That if we had to have, if we do it on the 7th, a meeting on the 7th, that would give us a little bit of time in between if we had to slide another meeting in. Right, in case we had to. So we'd have another 2 weeks in there in case we had to, if something wasn't falling in. So I think that's reasonable. How does people feel about the 7th? That's, I can't hear you, but you're shaking your head. Does that work okay? 7th for the next meeting? Carol, I see head shaking. Kristen, does the 7th work? Becky?
I just. Hope they can do it.
All right, sounds good. Shall we, those who've taken on some volunteers, let's get the, if you could get this stuff in, so we have some sort of a draft for the 7th. It can.
I'll reach out to Melody and Mary Jo and tell them what the upshot of this is, and they need to get tuned in for the 7th.
I appreciate that. All right. Shall we move on to minutes? For June 17th, 3rd, February 17th, and the 9th of March. Okay. Yes. All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of January 17th?
So moved.
Great, Cheryl.
Second. Second.
Yep. Does anyone have any edits or corrections to those minutes?
Those were little.
Okay, not hearing any. All those in favor, and I'll do roll call. Cheryl,
Hayden, I.
Farrell, I.
Susie,
Closure eye.
Kristen,
Burgess, I.
O'Neill, I think I got everybody. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of February 3rd?
So moved.
2022?
Second,
Or edits for those meeting minutes? No? Okay. All those in favor, Kristen,
Burgess, I.
We can't hear you,
Susie.
Melissa.
Susie,
Closure eye.
Farrell abstain. I was absent.
Cheryl,
Hayden, I.
Peace O'Neill, I think I just realized what the problem was on the speaker. February 17th, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mhm.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Anyone have any comments or edits on those minutes? Okay, all those in favor, Susie,
Closure eye.
Cheryl,
Hayden, I.
Kristen,
Burgess, I.
Did you say Rita?
I did say
Farrell,
Rita.
I. I can read your lips now. Farrell, I.
Peace O'Neill, I. That's a talent I don't have. Okay. Do I hear a motion for the, to approve the March 9th minutes?
So moved.
Okay, second? Anybody? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any edits or corrections? Cheryl, you have your hand up.
Yes, it's very
Cheryl.
minor. It's a very minor thing. Close to the end of the minutes, instead of saying on, there's one. You wrote O-N-E instead of just O-N.
I'll look for that. It's in the March 9th. Okay, I'll find it.
Yep, it's close to the end.
Anybody
Motion
else have any?
amended?
Oh,
Yeah.
a
As amended.
motion as amended? Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Rita,
Abstain. I was not at that meeting.
Cheryl,
Hayden, I.
Burgess, I.
Closure eye.
Makepeace O'Neill, I think we made that through that. Yay!
Yeah. And we'll get them onto the website. I mean, I think the delay is part of the anxiety of the public. They don't know what we've been talking about. It's not in the minutes. The minutes aren't up. Now they're up. And, or now they will be up. And I think that will help.
Thank you very much. And Susie, thank you for taking our minutes and doing a great job.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So we've already scheduled our next meeting. Is there anything else we'd like or need to discuss before we adjourn? That's within our agenda. All right, all those, okay.
I was going to make a motion to adjourn.
A
Go ahead.
second.
Okay, thank you, Rita. So all in favor of adjourning early? Roll call. Kristen,
Burgess, I.
Did you say
Rita,
Rita? I couldn't read your lips that time. Farrell, I.
Mosher, aye. Cheryl, go ahead.
Cheryl,
Hayden, I.
Peace O'Neill, and we're all set. That's all of us. We did it.
We did
Okay.
Please
Good night,
figure out
everyone.
what's not working with your mic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Have a
think
good
it's the
night,
background.
everybody.
Inner
Good
spirit
night.
time. Yep.
Have a
thank
good
you.
night.
Good night.
Bye.